Hi.
If there was one holiday that is more important than the celebration of the birth and rebirth of Jesus Christ, it is the celebration of a franchise that is important to fans all around the world. Sometimes it divides, but more times it unites, and we don't realize it. Today was the birth of a franchise that is so deep. Wait, Star Wars wasn't released on May 4th? Man, what the fuck? If you've been around, you know I talk about Star Wars. A lot. But I never made a proper video on the franchise, ever. So today, after my whole speech about unity with Star Wars, I wanted to make a video on something that is definitely not going to trigger anyone. Opinions. I'm gonna be ranking every single Star Wars project there is. This is a terrible idea. My opinions are my own, and if you agree, that's great. If you disagree, that's okay. I'm going to rank them from worst to best, so we can get the negative out of the way to end with a positive note. I'm gonna go into detail on what I liked versus what I disliked. Now for this video, I'm only gonna be ranking canon and not kiddie versions of Star Wars. So I'm not gonna be ranking stuff like Star Wars Visions or Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures. So without further ado, may the Force be with me. If I made this video back in 2019, all of these projects would rank from okay to perfect. But this is 2026. Post-COVID-19, cinema is evolving.
I mean, the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. There is no good or evil.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say it was evolving? Yes, it is evolving. But backwards. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, in last place, The Acolyte. There is so much wrong with this show, but based on the clips I showed you, you already know. I want to say a lot, but you know, if I speak, I'm in trouble.
It's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Funny how nowadays we live in a society that if you criticize, not insult, criticize any piece of media that fits the minority quota, you get canceled. But I'm a guy who would rather talk about the positive aspects about the media than the negative. And there is only one positive aspect about The Acolyte, that being Master Soul, played by Lee Jung-jae. You know, Squid Game guy. He looked so happy to be a part of this amazing franchise. He learned English just to be a part of Star Wars. That is admirable. He played a very convincing Jedi who actually wanted to bring peace and justice to both the twins, Osha and May. And that was the problem. Soul was the only Jedi who was good in this show. Because according to the creator and writer of the show, Leslie Headland, The Acolyte was all about humanizing the Sith to showcase they are the oppressed underdogs who just want to exist, and to show that the Jedi are a stagnant, oppressive institution who appear to be good in the eyes of the public, but cover up their crimes like the church and government of our world. This is the woman who got the green light to create a $230 million, not 23 million, $230 million TV show, the same budget as The Dark Knight, and has the audacity to call it Star Wars, and then calls the fandom bigots and racists because they didn't watch it, and it got canceled in the end. And meet boot. Giving credit where credit is due with The Acolyte, when the trailer came out, I actually thought it might be good to showcasing the lost art of amazingly choreographed lightsaber fights. While it was shattered when I saw the final product, I had a spark of hope, which is what Star Wars is all about. Hope. That was not the case when I saw Skeleton Crew. I knew it was going to be a childish mess, and a childish mess it was. It was boring, stupid, and it was boring. I like Jude Law's character, who, I forgot his name, John Nana Wood? What kind of a fucking name is that? I was rooting for John the entire time because, unlike The Acolyte, my dad forced me to watch this show because he was liking it. And why was I rooting for John? Simple. To kill those fucking kids. The 4 rats who left their planet in search of At-Aden to what end? I don't even remember. I only remember At-Aden because that pirate droid kept saying that phrase over and over and over. I don't recall no At-Aden. If it was just him and John, it would have been great. But no. Instead, the protagonist consisted of, not limited to, Lumpy from Timu, middle school bully / girl power, Lieutenant Commander Geordie's long-lost daughter, who was the only one of these miscreants that I enjoyed because her entire arc was about finding out what is special about her, and... Fuck them kids! The story was good, but the acting was atrocious! Same because John Watts is the director, and I loved the Spider-Man Home trilogy. Can't win them all. For this next show, I wanted to give it an analogy. Imagine you were promised a quintessential pizza from your favorite pizza place. The last time you had it had all of your favorite toppings. Pepperoni, meatball, onion, olives, the works. But that was years ago. So you wanted to go back there to have the same pizza. But when you get the order, it's still pizza. But it could have been so much more because its predecessor was perfect. That feeling not only leaves you disappointed, it leaves you sad. That's Ahsoka. What was meant to be the sequel to a show that I grew up with, starring a character that I loved, now reimagined in live action, ended up being what I can describe as a bad taste in my mouth. Many modern sequels have the problem of not reigniting the flame of their original counterparts. The problem with Ahsoka, none of the characters are themselves. The actors all look like they're bored on set, and the story is everywhere for all the wrong reasons. Case in point, Sabine and Ahsoka, they have a tense history, which was never shown in Star Wars Rebels. Hell, Sabine and Ahsoka never interacted in the show previously, and neither did hint at the fact that Sabine was force sensitive, which is stupid because she is a badass on her own, just being a Mandalorian. So why take that away? Why make her suddenly be able to push Ezra to Kingdom Come? Why make her survive a fucking lightsaber stab? Everyone's getting away with it these days! Complaints aside, the only good character of this show was Baylan Skoll, played by the legendary and late Ray Stevenson. He had this aura of mystery of being the first gray Jedi and knowing what the flaws were with the Jedi Order, but using the dark side of the Force to achieve his goals. And he has an orange lightsaber. How cool is that? I want an orange lightsaber, but they don't have them yet at Galaxy's Edge. Yet. Problem. He's not the antagonist, so he doesn't get much screen time. It's Thrawn. And this is not Grand Admiral Thrawn. It's Grand Fatmiral Thrawn. And Bruce Lee's niece? Daughter? Granddaughter? I don't remember. I don't care. You're dead anyway. Oh yeah, and Ezra. Dick move, by the way. Friend zoning Sabine. Look at me in the eyes and tell me those two do not love one another. They do, and you're telling me they don't. After 10 years of separation, Sabine got done giving Ezra some good old head, and she ends up with a hickey? Yeah. I'm calling poodoo. Star Wars fans were on the verge of greatness, this close of being united fully in a wonderful December of 2017. Yeah, you already know where I'm going with this. We had new media, new merch, new everything. Everything was perfect for Star Wars fans. Until The Last Jedi release. And I kid you not, not even the atomic bombs in Nagasaki and Hiroshima could do as much damage than what this film not only did to the franchise, but to the fandom.
Damn!
Ah yes, we have arrived at the first movie of our ranking. We all know what The Last Jedi did. Regardless of what you think of Rian Johnson, he can make a movie. I've seen the Knives Out trilogy. They're great. This is a great movie on its own. So why is it all the way down here? Because it's a terrible Star Wars movie. Luke Skywalker. Enough said, or Jake Skywalker, as everybody calls this. God! The hero who destroyed the Death Star, who brought back the second most feared man in the galaxy to the light side, the son of the Chosen One, and brother to the badass princess of the Rebel Alliance, is now a loser. This is not what you give to fans who love the main character of one of the most beloved IPs in existence. Heir to the Empire did Grandmaster Luke way better. Why change it? I know why. Rey, because Disney knows best that they can't write female characters, so they have to take the qualities of a male one, and at the same time degrade him to empower her. It's bad! Nothing against Rey. I like Rey, but you're not him. Point number 2, Laura Dern's character, Amiral Hordo. The only word I have to describe her is why. With more words, you could have calmed Poe down and explained to everyone what the plan was, but he chose to be vague and stole a moment that was rightfully Admiral Akbar's. Yeah, the "it's a trap" fish turns into frozen tuna. And I hated that moment. Even his actor of 22 years, Tom Kane, expressed his disgust at how Rian Johnson handled another beloved character.
I was not really thrilled about how they blew him out the side of the ship. I'm like, who's this Holdo woman? Nobody knows this. There's no one's invested in that. Who is she? Why is she saving the fleet? If anyone's going to save the fleet, it'd be... Oh, no.
All right, let's... So...
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Other than that, the movie was visually stunning. We all froze in the hyperspace ran, and the music was awesome. Hot take, I think this is John Williams' best work. The Battle of Crate, mixing themes from both prequels, originals, and sequels. That was good, but other than that, the casino, worst version of Empire Strikes Back, just the little things and the big things. This is not Star Wars. The previous 4 placings were Star Wars media that I could only describe in the range of hate/dislike. Out of all the 23 Star Wars projects, only 4 were bad, in my opinion. These next projects go from the range of meh to mid. So not bad, more like could be better. I enjoyed some aspects of these TV shows/movies, but I wouldn't rewatch them anytime soon. Or ever. Or a better description would be that there's probably an alternate version of this media somewhere that is amazing, but we ended up with this. Yup. I'm talking about The Rise of Skywalker. Originally meant to be Duel of the Fates. Originally meant to be a completely different movie with Rey having a double-bladed lightsaber, R2-D2 fucking dying, Rose being a part of the sequel trio, and best of all, Finn leading a stormtrooper rebellion on Coruscant. Why was this not in the movie? Well, actually, I'll tell you why. Because Carrie Fisher died, and Leia was a pivotal character in the film, and Disney is allergic to recasting.
Son of a bitch!
We've all heard the memes and the hate this movie gets. Me personally, I think it's overhated just a teeny bit. Ian McDiarmid is fantastic in this film, even though Palpatine suddenly resurrected and undoing the prophecy makes zero sense. I enjoyed whenever he was on screen because he still gives the presence of control and manipulation that he had in the prequels, even though he looks like a toy from a claw machine.
Help me!
All of aside, writing is meh, pacing is meh, continuity is meh, music is meh, acting is meh, except for Adam Driver. And everybody blames J.J. Abrams for this movie when in reality, it doesn't make sense. I mean, he is the director, but the poor guy tried his best at what he was given because he was a last-minute director choice and he did not want to make this movie. Unlike The Force Awakens or the Kelvin Star Trek movies, he had no creative control. Which is sad, because behind the scenes, everybody looks like they're having a ball. Heck, Daisy Ridley cried when she filmed the Rey Skywalker scene because she knew how much this final scene would have meant to Star Wars fans if executed perfectly. But it wasn't, so we're left with a bad taste. I personally enjoyed how Rey rejects her surname, belonging to a man of fear and hatred, and takes the name of hope. Shut the fuck up! But I understand where some fans did not like that choice.
Where the fuck is Ben?
Rey Skywalker.
Apparently there was supposed to be almost an hour of extra films, including but not limited to Kylo Ren confronting Chewbacca in the prison cell and talking about his father, an expanded version of Empress Palpatine, General Hux, Price, and Kylo Ren storming Darth Vader's castle from Rogue One to find the Sith Wayfinder. And the worst or best of them all, Anakin was supposed to be the Force Ghost to confront Rey on Acto.
Speaking of Anakin, you remember how obsessed he was to try and save Padme's life? I know Ben Solo learning Force healing is not written in the best way, but the way I see it, Anakin never got to save the one he loved from dying because he turned to the dark side. But because Ben turned back to the light side, he was able to do what his grandfather could not. Have the one he loves cheat death. Remember what he said all the way back in episode 7 to Darth Vader?
And I will finish what you started.
It comes full circle here. Rey had lots of time to practice this move thanks to the Jedi text she stole from Luke. Like Yoda said,
The need in front of your nose. But that library contained nothing that the girl Rey does not already possess. No.
Grogu passed out because not only is he a baby, not only because that was his first time doing it, but because he was just healing a bite. Some may call Rey's resurrection lazy, but it's really not because Ben learned this move from Rey just a few hours ago and uses all of his strength to bring her back, and in turn, it has consequences. Although, was it the Force heal or the bad breath that killed him?
You seem confused why this film is above The Last Jedi. Because it undid everything that was wrong with it. I loved it when Luke admitted he was wrong in being a pussy. I have the fact that Leia did in fact train as a Jedi, and I won't lie, I had the stupidest and biggest grin in my face when Luke finally rose his X-Wing. But that is just one scene, or a few scenes. Everything else, meh. But if you think Rise of Skywalker could be better, Rise of Skywalker Ascendance. I kid you not, this fan edit boosts the movie from meh to good. Oh, and I love the Sith Troopers. Best part of the movie. Rule of cool. Fight me. Who was the greatest character in the Star Wars prequel trilogy? Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was already cool in the originals, made better in the prequels, and shined exceptionally in the Clone Wars. So what the fuck happened in his own show? Nothing. A whole lot of nothing. The entire premise of the show is an Ouroboros snake. Start on Tatooine, end on Tatooine with nothing gained. Apart from Obi-Wan, whose arc was about reigniting the Jedi flame inside him to prepare Luke Skywalker, nobody in this show does anything. Darth Vader farms. But like his son tells him in the future, your overconfidence is your weakness. No, Luke said that to Palpatine, which Vader overheard. Yes.
You stupid.
Darth Vader is the type of villain, if he's on a manhunt, he will not fail until he gets what he wants. You saw it in Rebels, you saw it in Jedi Fallen Order, you saw it in Maul Shadow Lord. Probably, the show isn't out yet. Bruh. Vader's a bitch in this show. He is not the intimidating dark force we see in the original trilogy. He is reckless and sensitive. Now this show is here and there, but if I was only ranking music, this show would be at the bottom. And probably 6 feet under of that second bottom, and then dig some more bottom. The music sucks because the composer for this show, who I will not name because she does not deserve to be named, wanted to make original music themes for already existing characters. You're telling me Leia's theme, the Force theme, and the freaking Imperial March needed to be remade? I expect this shit to happen in Marvel. not Star Wars. One of the reasons I hated Doctor Strange 2 was because Danny Elfman changed Michael Giacchino's iconic Doctor Strange score. Case in point, we went from to whatever this shit is. Someone at Lucasfilm must have smelled her bullshit, because for the last episode, they replaced her with composer William Ross, and in that episode, you start hearing all of the iconic John Williams themes throughout the episode. The last episode was the only one I liked. Everything else, it was not for me. But episode 6, I liked it. And one reason was because the music. Another reason why I liked episode 6 a lot? Leia was out of the picture. I loved her in the originals and a lot of other media. Not here. You're telling me with someone, the legs the size of twigs can outrun assassins? She's not the only one. All the side characters are boring as hell too. You got the actor who's got the most punchable face in Hollywood, and this woman right here who, I'm sorry, in what galaxy does a slap take down a stormtrooper? He's wearing a helmet, for fuck's sake! I know they're incompetent, but they're not made of milk. I excuse a lot of things that happen in Star Wars. This is not one of them. Oh, but Ezra took down a stormtrooper with fruit. 'Twas a nut shot. Big difference. And then we have Reva. What a tragic character. That's it. I think her story as a Lost Jedi works, but out of everyone to blame for what happened to your friends, why Obi-Wan? Of all people. Bitch, you thought you had it hard? Obi-Wan fell 2,000 feet from a blast by his best friend and then had to fight his brother after learning he was the reason most of the Jedi were extinct! Credit where credit is due, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen's acting are great. Such a shame it was wasted to this. The next placement is weird. Weird. I'm split between what I'm supposed to give these short stories. And I did not want to split them up in different rankings because I know this video is going to be long as is. So I figured I would combine all the Tales of series in one ranking. And here we are. From worst to best, the story of the lady from Mandalorian and Ahsoka. Like I said earlier, nobody cares about this schmuck. So why waste a slot in Tales of the Empire for when you could have just done Director Krennic, Iden Versio, Mara Jade, the list goes on. Morgan Elsbeth, I just remember her name. That is not in the script. The only thing I remember from her art is General Grievous finding his inner 2003 self and mopping the floor with Night Sister blood. Number 5 is Barriss Offee's story. You'd think the story of the treacherous deceiver, the woman responsible for Ahsoka Tano's departure from the Jedi Order, would finally get a good story of what happened to her. But no, she gone through some training and then turns good afterwards. What happened to the Jedi have lost the life we once held so dear? I had a canon that Barriss Offee is the 7th sister, and no one can convince me otherwise. Number 4, Asajj Ventress. This is not her tale in the underworld. This is the tale of this dumb fuck! And Ventress Ventress having to drag his ass along because she can't be reunited with Quinlan Vaughn. I would have rather seen an animated Dark Disciple than this. I can't decide between Cad Bane and Ahsoka Tano, which is 3 or 2. So I'll say that they get tied for second. I love seeing their origin stories, how they became the great characters we all know and love before Disney did what Disney does. And their final confrontation had me at the edge of my seat. Ahsoka's a badass, we already knew that, but Cad Bane, he had sex. And in first place, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, Count Dooku. I didn't think I needed to see Dooku's fall from grace, but thanks to the hubris of the Jedi Council, Darth Sidious was able to get his first victim for his grand plan. I say first because Sidious took Maul from Mother Talzin as a child, and Dooku came willingly after, number 1, he learned that the Republic was not doing its job to serve the people. Number 2, the Jedi ignored the signs of corruption growing inside the innermost core of their own. Number 3, everyone ignored his warnings about the coming darkness, which finally made him snap to imprison Sifo Dyas to create the clone army, which all roads led to Order 66. I'm not keen on seeing the idea of more Tales of in the future, but overall with these top 3, I'm satisfied with what I got. I do not care for Andor. When you get older, usually movies age like wine. That has always been the case when I watch childhood movies. Yet one movie has always gotten worse for me every time I rewatch it. Unfortunately, it's The Phantom Menace. When I first saw The Phantom Menace as a kid, I remember being overly excited to finally see the story of Hey, stop! Alright, if I have to, I'll address the Banth in the room. Let's talk about Andor. Take all of the main characters from Rogue One. Which one out of all of these is the least likable? Badass hottie who inspires hope. Funny sarcastic droid pal. Giga Chad heavy weapons guy. Kanan Jarrus from Timu but just as badass. Pilot with a heart of gold. Or kill first, ask questions later. Andor is in a limbo for me. On one hand, you have a great spy drama espionage thriller. But at the same time, this is my problem with Last Jedi as well. It's not Star Wars. I'm going to get serious for this section. Because I know people, actual people, whenever I say that I don't think Star Wars is the best Star Wars period, they don't say agree to disagree or let's talk about it. They result to labeling and screaming like lobcats. Like I said before, civil discourse is a lost art. So I know placing Andor this low is going to result in dislikes and comments. So I'm here to discuss my thoughts on why I think Andor is overrated. Not that it's bad, it's overrated. Let's start with the greatness this show has. Gwendolyn Christine as Mon Mothma and Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen Rael. What amazing characters! I'll admit, I thought Mon Mothma was a pansy! But this show did an amazing job fleshing out her character and made me see the light, that violence is always a last. Emphasis on last resort. Her story is tragic, how she had to leave everything behind to lead a lost cause of a rebellion because, let's be honest, if she and Bail Organa had not stepped in to be leaders, the Empire would have won. Simple as that. But if Mothma is the yin, then Luthen is the yang. If a phrase were to describe this man, it is that the end justifies the means. Luthen's mindset was that the only way to win against the Empire was to become them. But it was not without merit. I mean, the guy had plans, and backup plans to those plans. And backup plans to the backup plans of the original plans. I did not agree with the way Luthen got shit done. I didn't care if it was effective. And yet his story was the most intriguing one I've seen in the era of the Great Galactic Civil War. He was like the father that Cassian never had. A very psychotic father at that point. My favorite arc in Andor had to be Narkina 5. Andy Serkis delivered as Kino Loy in lack of doing so with Supreme Leader Snoke. The prison break was greatly executed and written in a way that I can only describe as cinema. One way out has to be one of the top phrases of Star Wars lines, along with "May the Force be with you" or "I have spoken." Because the weight of those words, it's heavy, but it's a good amount. After Kino delivered the line that there are never more than 12 guards stationed in every level, it was that feeling of hope that I love to see in Star Wars. For the first time, I was excited to see what was next, but that was it. This arc was the only time you feel what Star Wars is supposed to be. Hope. Throughout the rest of the show, you have this feeling of dread that everything is going to turn for the worst, and the characters we are supposed to care about don't make me root for them in the slightest. We're living in the world where my favorite new characters, the characters that I was rooting for in the entire show, were Major Partagrass and Cyril Khan. I was more interested in the politics of the Empire than I was in the violence of the rebellion.
Synthetic calcites.
Partagrass had this Shakespearean authoritarian tone that made him feel fascinating. He does not look like he's intimidating, but the way he speaks just makes us feel that this guy is not to be trifled with. I should know, because I say calibrate your enthusiasm a lot in my daily life. Poor Cyril. The poor boy was just misjudged by the blindness of what the Empire really was, and just wanted to make his mom proud. He let his hatred for Cassian blind him, that in the end, when he finally got him, Cassian he doesn't even know who he is, and it just means that his manhunt was for nothing. Because he was working with a space Nazi regime that did not care. They did not let him be seen. And that's all he wanted. He just wanted to be seen by his superiors, his mom, and Dedra Miro. And what did she want out of all this? She just wanted to ride his lightsaber. So now, let's talk about the problems that I have with this show. In Rogue One, Cassian has learned that murder is never the right answer to solve your problem, and that is his arc. But if he learns that arc in this show, he doesn't grow, and that's the problem. Our main character does not grow. He is still that murderous lone stranger who does not learn when and how you need to act. And he does it alone, just taking his superiors as a suggestion rather than in order. In a way, he is that Rogue One.
Shut your
When it came to the Rebel Alliance, I only had one question for Bix, Vel, Cinta, and Clea, and all the others I can't remember their names off the top of my head. What exactly is it you do? Piss me off! That's what! You could not have picked a more boring cast of leaders who know nothing of the sort. The Maya Pei? Idiots!
We're in the middle of a civil war. Let's call for a truce. Indeed. Let us settle this like professionals. We are the future of the rebellion, after all. No mama's way.
The Gorman Front? Incompetent! You're all going to rob a tank full of Imperial cargo because Luthen said so. Hell yeah, ready to kick some Imperial ass, finally! How do we go about this? You're all going to rob a tank full of Imperial cargo because Luthen said so. You said that already. Could you please elaborate? No. Can we get some specific instructions, please? You are sending us out into Death Zone. We're just regular workers, and you're asking us to steal from a government that has control over the planet. Don't you think we need some training before this? No. Could we at least get some weapons? No. Protection? No. A backup plan? No. Anything? No. Are you two even gonna help us? Cinta and I will be judging your performance because Luthen said so.
Later that same evening.
Man, fuck those two. I have protection in case something's about to go wrong. Oh look, something's about to go wrong.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Sir, nothing to see here. Move along, please.
Radical Imperial!
Riddle me this. If we are Imperial, why are we robbing an Imperial tank?
Nous sommes les Gords!
Ah! Get off of me! Get off of me! What are you doing? Get off! This doesn't concern you! Let go of my gun!
Oh shit.
This is all your fault! You buff Frenchie!
Wait.
I know you are the reason that Cinta is dead. Come help me with her body. You're one of us now. Because Luthen said so.
Wait.
And we're the good guys! With leadership like this, we're all going to die! In a protest! And Mix only has one thing in her mind.
Killing Nazis.
She would be the type of gal to take scalps. And when she gets her revenge after what happened to her in the first season, it's not satisfying because there's no build-up and her plan was reckless. Not to mention the entire arc with Mon Mothma's escape is predictable because we already know the speech and the outcome in Rebels. And all in all, everyone's just fighting amongst each other when you should be fighting the Empire. The enemy of my enemy is your friend, not the enemy of my enemy is also my enemy. How are you supposed to build rebellion when you gotta inhale a bunch of space cocaine that'll make you go cuckoo crazy? If you were paying attention, you noticed a pattern. Notice how I said this season. I barely had any problems with Andor Season 1. Andor Season 2 is the reason this show is all the way down here. Let me emphasize why I said this show does not feel like Star Wars. Number 1, world building. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You could have said this takes place on Earth, nobody would be all the wiser. None of the planets feel like they're out of this world or any of the sorts. If you're trying to give me the argument that the show is supposed to be down to Earth, Earth doesn't exist in Star Wars, that's my problem. Also, where are the aliens? There are way too many humans in Andor that if you CGI them out, the plot would not change. It's a shame because Star Wars has great alien characters. Andor does not. Number 2, pacing. Season 2 obviously was meant to be 4 seasons mushed into 1. When Cassian left the planet he was held hostage in by the Maya Page, we discover it was Yavin 4. This is supposed to be a great revelation because this is where the rebels are during the attack of the first Death Star. When we learn that it is Yavin 4 at the end of episode 3, what happens in episode 4? Oh, so this planet is Yavin 4. Albeit this arc was a little bit slow, but nice to do a little bit of world building so we can finally learn like when the rebellion moves here and we can see how they build the base from the ground up. I'd love to see how they interact with the Maya Page, and they've already moved in. Just like that? No Maya Page? No bridge? Nothing? Oh, that's it. Okay. Number 3, and the one that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Kenari. The whole point of the show for Andor was to find his sister. It was his motivation why he joined Luthen's rebellion and swore to find her. That in filmmaking is called the hook. It is what reels audiences in to learn more. And yet, where did this go? It's like he completely forgot about his quest, his hero's journey. Yes, she appears in a flashback in the last episode, but that is it. I mean that is it. Not even a throwaway line. They did not give closure to Cassian's story because his first reel was never lined in and sunk. Reason 4, K2SO. Where the fuck were you? You were advertised as the secondary main character for the series when it was announced all the way back in 2018. And when do you show up? The finale. So you exclude the best character from Rogue One, Cassian's best friend out of the show, but you let this prick take center stage for most of season 2.
Hey, this is post-production me speaking. So I did some digging, and I don't know what possessed me to do further research on this subject, but I found out that K2SO was indeed supposed to be a staple of Andor since season 1. And you'll never guess what's the reason for his absence. Mr. Iger, we are almost done building the practical effects for Andor. Yeah, about that. We're pulling funding from Andor. Okay, sounds real, but what? We're pulling funding from Andor. What does that mean? You can't use K2SO. I don't make the rules, You literally do. We don't think your show is going to be a hit,
So we're diverting some of your funding that you don't need to a show that will be a success with our new audience, huh? And what show is that? You're not serious. I am. We are barely scraping by with 27 million and we are filming during a pandemic. How much money is that contraption getting? 250 million, huh? This is why AI is replacing the fine liberal arts and artists. And to be honest, as long as people like those get replaced, I'm all here for it. Soda, by the way. Reason 5, and probably the weakest reason, escapism. My mom doesn't like horror, my dad doesn't like animation, and I don't like reality. And that is my 2 cents on Andor. If you disagree, that's okay. At the end of the day, this is just what all of Star Wars is. A piece of fiction. I'm glad people liked it. I'm glad people disliked it. It does not matter in the end, and that goes for all of Star Wars. If you liked Andor, Kenobi, Last Jedi, it's not right or wrong. And that's okay. If you disliked Empire Strikes Back, Rogue One, The Clone Wars, once again, your opinion, it's not right or wrong, and that is okay. But if you think The Acolyte is the best piece of media,
About time.
when you get older, usually movies age like wine. That has always been the case when I watch childhood movies. Yet one movie has always gotten worse for me every time I rewatch it. Unfortunately, it's The Phantom Menace. When I first saw The Phantom Menace as a kid, I remember being overly excited to finally see the story of Anakin Skywalker. After watching episodes 4 and 5, I was really looking forward to the origin story. And when I watched the movie, I loved it. Even today, I love Qui-Gon Jinn. I love Padme. I love the invasion of Naboo. I love the space fight. I love Duel of the Fates. I love the seeds that Sidious planted for his grand plan. Even though it was clear that his next victim of grooming was a kid. And the queen of a planet had the hots for that same kid.
Stop! You violated the law.
And of course, who did I love? The MVP! Maul! Hey, you seem like you really like the movie. Why is this place so low? Yeah, that's the thing. That's the only 1st and 6th of the excuse me. Disgusting! That's the only 1st and 6th of the film. Not that the pod race or the politics of the film are bad. They're just boring every time after the first viewing. And when 2/3 of the movie is nothing but what I said, it's a movie that does not age well. And there's one Gungan to thank for the fact as well that puts the movie way down here. Jar Jar Binks, the Sith Lord, everybody! Remember all those theories back in the early 2010s about how Jar Jar was the key to all of this? He was the Sith Lord? I remember my older brother went nuts with that theory. In fact, whenever we would talk with someone new who was a Star Wars fan, that was his hook. And it was entertaining, and honestly, I remember he made some great points that convinced people. Hell, he convinced me for a while as well. And yeah, it was one of those things that I look back and think,
Well, that was idiotic. Off to hang myself. Off and left.
And granted, they did make Darth Jar Jar canon in the LEGO special a few years ago. At least Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, got his redemption with Kelren Beck in The Mandalorian. The Phantom Menace is a great story about the beginning of Anakin Skywalker. And what I do love about this film is that this was the beginning of the Jedi's shift from the Force to politics. Qui-Gon warned Obi-Wan about this, and he ignored him. It's not until Ahsoka's trial when he realizes that he fucked up. Too little, too late.
Fuck.
So, if you look at it more as setup than plot, it can be enjoyable. It has enjoyable fights, music, and visuals, but that's about it. And now we have arrived at the next tier. These next projects are ones that I would rewatch, give or take every 3 or 2 years. They have flaws, less than the previous ones, but these projects have hype moments and good storytelling that makes you go, yeah, this is Star Wars. Why do people not like this show? I mean, I know why. It's Mandalorian Season 2.5. Now for this section, I'm gonna go over the negatives, then the positives. For a show titled The Book of Boba Fett, Boba Fett is absent. A lot. Sometimes when he is on screen, he does not feel like the mysterious menace we know from Empire Strikes Back. At least he was beating the Boba Fett allegations from Mandalorian. Not to mention, they wasted the greatest bounty hunter ever lived, Cad Bane. I feel bad for Tamora Morrison because he loves Star Wars, that he stated in Star Wars Celebration that he should have an episode of Mandalorian dedicated to him with no Mando. And honestly, I think he's right. It's only fair. Okay, done with the negatives. The Book of Boba Fett rocks. Despite being the titular character, kind of reminds me of Great Gatsby. It's called The Great Gatsby, but Gatsby is like the 5th main character. But the one scenes that he does feel like Boba Fett, he stands on the fact that he is Boba Fett. And he stands on that hill with business. Most people did not like the fact that there were Tusken Raiders in this. Personally, I disagree. Showing the hidden humanity of a cold-blooded killer and cold-blooded killers was not on my bingo card, and yet it showed just how quick we are to judge as humans. All the Tuskens wanted to do was to feed their young ones and be left alone in their section of the desert. At least those Tusken Raiders. I cannot speak for all Tusken Raiders. And thanks to their hospitality, Boba was able to learn the difference between surviving and living. The Tuskens taught him to live, so he showed them how to survive. Albeit short-lived. To remember the Tuskens in his honor, he implemented their fighting style into his moveset. I know that it's a New Zealandish haka, but it's still very cool. Heck, even his armor has his robes from earlier to honor the Tuskens. While the side characters don't have much to do, they're very cool in one way or another. Black Chrysanthemum is basically Chewbacca from Mirror Mirror. Power Rangers from Timu are there. They look so out of place. Then again, doesn't everything in Star Wars. The Pikes are the antagonists of the season, which is fitting because ever since Bib Fortuna got the Julius Caesar treatment, there is now a power vacuum in the criminal underworld now that the Hutts, who were the most powerful crime syndicate, are gone. And I love the Shadow Collective arc in Clone Wars, so I do enjoy the underworld elements here. And when is the post-credit scene going to get resolved? Probably never. Like I mentioned before, the Mandalorian himself shines in this series way better than he does in his own 3rd season. We already know the memes and big criticism revolving around this specific show. The reunion. Grogu and Mando should not have reunited in a different show, let alone the very first show after the Season 2 finale. But damn it if their reunion does not make you shed a tear. Also, while Luke and Ahsoka don't really do much, the fact that we know that the son of Anakin and his Padawan have more than an acquaintance, more than a friendship, tells us that they shared a lot of stories between one another. Imagine Ahsoka breaking down knowing that her former master turned to the light side at the last minute. I would have loved that, but we know that conversation took place. And lastly, I do like Fennec Shand. She basically takes on the Fett mantle by being the next silent assassin. We saw a glimpse of the Mandalorian, and she really shines here by not only being a badass, but being extremely sexy at the same time. Really, dude? That's your type? Yes. Who wouldn't want a piece of Space Mulan? Yes. November 28th, 2014. The day The Force Awakens teaser was released. From then on to December 5th of 2017, it was the best time to be a Star Wars fan. Everyone was so excited for a new Star Wars movie and a new Star Wars era. Everyone was universally happy that someone new took the helms and George Lucas was gone. Yes, everyone did hate George Lucas for a while after he made the prequels. The evidence is on YouTube. We all make mistakes. When the movie first released, it was on everybody's top movie of 2015. Beat a lot of box office records, and the closest we have ever achieved to world peace. And here we are, 10 years later. And the common consensus is that because episode 8 and 9 are bad movies, episode 7 is now a bad movie. I'm not being funny. How does that make any sense? The quality of a different movie does not impact another one. The Force Awakens was great 10 years ago, and 10 years later, it's still great. Cons out of the way first. Finn. Everyone universally agrees he should have been the Jedi. My man was done so dirty in this trilogy, starting with the advertising. And that was the first domino to fall. Every movie after that, he becomes less of a character and more like a voice. The other con is that it's basically a rebooted New Hope. But on that note, let's start with the pros. It's basically a rebooted New Hope. What's not to love? Despite the qualities of the other films afterwards, this film really holds well on its own and as a Star Wars movie. The title crawl begins with Luke Skywalker, our childhood hero, your childhood hero, I'm only 22, is poof. And then afterward, the First Order comes in and fucks shit up. The music and their actions alone make them menacing. Not even 5 minutes in. And then, we got the basic hero's journey to flow things along with a very interesting cast. We have the cutest droid to ever exist. Third best droid in Star Wars, by the way. A scavenger who longs for a better life but is hesitant for change. An ex-stormtrooper, which is a great concept, just wished it was executed better. And The Return of the Kings. A lot of people blame J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy for never reuniting the original trio. You do know that Harrison Ford said he would not return unless they killed Han Solo in the movie, right? At least the scenes with Leia and Han were very emotional and heartfelt. Yes, I was bummed out that Ben Solo was not either Jason or Jania or Anakin, but credit where credit is due. Everyone universally agrees if there's one character who has earned their rightful place in the Star Wars saga, Kylo Ren. He's no Darth Vader and the biggest simp for his granddad, but Adam Driver knows how to work with what he's given and sell the performance of a dark side user who is still learning the art. But you would not know that if we saw his emotion. I mean, not to power scale, but we saw Darth Vader deflect blasters with the palm of his hand. My guy straight up stops it in midair as well as Poe simultaneously. That is madness. I thought the pacing was well done, music was great as always, visuals, top 10 most beautiful movies to look at of all time. And the action. Oh, the action. When the Resistance came flying down on Takodana, I remember thinking back in the Death Star trench run, they could barely take down one TIE fighter. Poe takes down 13, no, not 3, 13 TIE fighters on his own and sends the First Order retreating. I remember that being the coolest shit for 13-year-old me.
Post-production me again. So we all remember when we all giggled when BB-8 gave Finn a thumbs up. Have you ever thought in your entire life, what if BB-8's flipping him off? You are never ever going to look at this scene the same way again.
Speaking of Takodana, I remember my mom having beef with Bug Eyes, as she would call Maz, because the two had a thing for Chewie.
What the fuck?
But in the final battle, the lightsaber choreo was weak, and the trench run was repeated. As we all know, Starkiller Base, or Ilum, was gone before Dakar would get blown up, which is nothing new. But that aside, the fact that Luke was still alive in this deserted island, where supposedly the first Jedi temple was built, would have paid off really well, but the film ends without answering the disappointment that awaited next. But alone, the mystery remained. My theory back then was that he went off to start a family with Mara Jade. Remember those theories? That Snoke was going to be Mace Windu? Good times. Regardless of what you think about Season 3, the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, incredible! Remember the days of quarantine? There are 5 things that got me through the lockdown. The Henry Stickmin collection, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Made, and The Mandalorian. Let's get the negatives out of the way. Season 3, it was bad. Very bad. Done. Let's think positive now. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing Star Wars media tackle the Jedi, the Sith, the Force, but make Star Wars Star Wars. When I heard the show was going to be about a Mandalorian that has no connection to anything we have ever seen, I'll admit, I was a little skeptical. I'm so glad I was wrong. This is exactly what Star Wars needed in this time. A paradigm shift in storytelling. For so long, we had stories in between the episodes. Now we have one that takes place after Return of the Jedi. A compelling space western dad story that brought the infinite money glitch for Disney during the times we would call Grogu Baby Yoda. I don't like him all that much. The cast was stacked as well. Pedro Pascal before the Pedro Pascal fatigue. Carl Weathers, may God rest your soul. Gina Carano, aka I Hope Those Muscles Crush Me. Comedians that can make you feel emotional. I Have Spoken. Star Wars First. Furry! Definitely not a bad guy, or was a bad guy. Gal. Fuck you! Why weren't you in Ahsoka? Jumping from one show to another. I exist to make somehow Palpatine return make sense. It's my turn to steal a show. And of course, Los Porcos Hermanos. For the first 2 seasons, you had an episodic adventure that teaches viewers the importance of parenthood, empathy, community, and in between those lessons you had great action, emotions, and ties to the greater Star Wars galaxy. I remember the times when the show gave us hype moments, my brothers, sister, and I flipped. What a time to be alive! The great potential about Mandalorian is that it could have been to the sequels what the Clone Wars is to the prequels. A bridge. The elements were there. The remnants of the Empire, the snow clones, Luke rebuilding the Order, the worst. It could still be if we're getting a season 4. What do you think, guys? Is The Mandalorian and Grogu, the first Star Wars film to be released in 7 years, going to be awesome and break even to greenlight a season 2? Yeah, I don't think so. Possibly the most underrated piece of Star Wars media ever. Solo did not deserve what it gets. The only reason the film got negative publicity was because it was released after The Last Jedi, and Star Wars was not the same after that. Despite Solo having probably the most forgettable cast of characters, in my opinion, repeating the same character arc for Han from A New Hope, a smuggler trying to act like he's not a good guy but ends up having a heart of gold in the end. Not to mention having the stupidest way to get a last name.
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo.
The film fits all the Star Wars criteria by not only making it fun, but exciting. Usually when movies first begin, they want to have a little bit of setup to get audiences to know what they are into. Not here! They just toss up into the chase scene in classic Han Solo fashion, always getting into trouble. It's no surprise that Leia was not Han's first choice. Kira plays an interesting role in this film. All this time, it's bait and switch into thinking that she is the classic damsel in distress, to, nah bruh, she's doing just fine. Oh shit, she's working for Vision! Who's now a mafia boss? Solo's also not afraid to get emotional when you least expect it. Immediately when we hear that Han is going to be fed to a beast, we know it's going to be our big, lovable walking carpet. And it's very adorable and very affectionate to Han after he rescues him. Kind of like a pet.
Couldn't have done this maybe like one at a time?
Shut the fuck up!
Is Chewbacca a pet? He's an animal, right? Is he a pet? Oh, he's based on George Lucas's own dog, Indiana. So you mean the dog from Indiana Jones was actually George Lucas's own dog? Learn something new every day. You have a nice campfire scene before the heist and before 2 members die. Like it gives Han his signature blaster, which comes from a sniper rifle, which I think is awesome. Imagine if sometime down the line between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, I'm not saying the episode numbers and you can't make me. Imagine Han gets stuck in a situation where he needs to make a shot from afar. So he pulls out the missing pieces, connects his DL-44, and makes the shot. I mean, it would be cool, but Han has that much aura he could make it with his eyes shut. Chewie freeing the Wookiees, L3 dying. Yes, I did feel a little bit for the feminist droid. Would it even be feminist or would it be droidinist? You feel that way because Yoshi here made it clear that he very much is Austin Powers, a robot fucker! Many emotions were shared in Solo, and some moments were hype as hell. The castle run was awesome. When you listen to the TIE Fighter chase theme and the asteroid field in this high-speed chase, it was a lot of fun.
Good going, hon!
Lando Calrissian is my favorite Star Wars character of all time. And I thought Donald Glover did an amazing job portraying his charisma, and probably will be the last time we see him in that role. And of course, the MVP. Maul! Mixing Ray Park for the movement and Sam Witwer for the voice was the best choice they could have made. My dad loathes Maul because he killed his favorite Jedi. And when me and my younger brother told him he was still alive, he always said the cartoon was not canon. So when he showed up in the movie theater, I told you! 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 True story, by the way. Nice to see the Shadow Collective is up and running. And props to Sam Witwer for telling Ron Howard that he needed his Inquisitor lightsaber, not his Episode 1 lightsaber. And that's what I love about people like Sam Witwer. When you know the continuity of the franchise you're in, when you tell the director and producer about the continuity of the movie and they don't push you aside, they take your word for it, you know you've made it. Imagine what Sam Witwer could craft if he was in charge of the Star Wars show. When Disney announced that they were making a sequel to the Clone Wars, I'll admit, I was scared that Disney was somehow going to fuck it up, since Disney does best with their sequels. The Bad Batch, you say? You mean those mutant clones who we only saw for 4 episodes, now joined by an obnoxious Australian girl who is most likely going to be Rey 2.0 and get in the way every time? This is going to be trash, is what I thought, and boy was I glad to be wrong. Not only does this show really feel like Clone Wars Season 8 through 10, but hot take, The Bad Batch does a better portrayal of fatherhood than The Mandalorian. Unlike Rey, who knows how to pilot and work her way with machines, Omega knows next to nothing about anything.
What is this?
You're a fucking idiot.
As you can see in the first season, she can barely hit a mark. She grows so much. By the time season 3 rolls around, we are rooting for her and have confidence that she can escape Mount Tantus on her own. Matter of fact, every member of the Bad Batch grows in ways I never expected. Conan the Barbarian, Vietnam Edition, to Dad of the Year. Echo goes from being Tech 2.0 to a key player in the clone resistance. Crosshair had the best growth of them all. He is the only clone who obeyed Order 66 because he wanted to, like the clones did in the Legends continuity. Because as we all know, good soldiers follow orders. I never wanted to shoot down Obi-Wan. What these chips did to us is going to haunt us. Speak for yourself. I'm on a 20 Jedi kill streak. Crosshair, like Cyril, truly believed the Empire stood for what was best for the galaxy, bringing peace and order. But it wasn't until they were at the receiving end that they opened their eyes to see the truth. And let me tell you, it was so satisfying to see Crosshair murder Lieutenant Commander Nolan for what he did, or rather what he did not do for Mayday. But unlike Bix, whose trauma immediately vanished when she killed the Doctor, Crosshair's trauma did not vanish because he wanted to be left alone. It haunted him for a long time. And that's what makes Crosshair so interesting. He has to live with that, with the broken hand, with the fact that he wants to bury it all deep, but he can't. Some shows make it think that your trauma goes away. It never does. You can try to bury it, but unless you accept that's who you are now, it will just make you into a monster. Emery goes from being another NPC to learning individuality, empathy, and humanity. I'm not gonna lie, she's cute as well.
You are obsessed with girls!
Tech. Oh, Tech. Why? Wrecker starts off as a lovable goofball, ends up as an even bigger lovable goofball. All of the supporting characters remind us that Star Wars is a shared galaxy. You have Kanan, Hera and Chopper, Gunji, Chuchi, Gregor, Saw, Cody, Cut, Scorch, Wolf, Palpatine, Nalse, Ventress, Toto, the Martez sister number 2, Fennec Shan, AZ 13452118962464987213447, and Cad freaking Bane. A whole decade since we last saw him. Speaking of antagonists, Dr. Royce Hemlock is one of the A-tier Star Wars villains because he reminds me of Nurse Ratched. Not that one, that one. I may have failed science, but I did love the concept and orchestration of it. Dr. Hemlock is not only intelligent, but menacing as well. He's not someone who sits around while his lackeys do all the work. He goes out to the field and he makes sure he gets what he wants. It's no wonder Palpatine chose him as the lead scientist for Project Necromancer, because as we all know, all these shows, all of them try to pave the way to make somehow Palpatine return make sense, which it won't. It'll be a miracle if they pull it off. In the end, Bad Batch really holds up on his own, and frankly, I'm glad it ended on a high note. And it can stand on its own, and all the characters stay together. Wait, Omega's going to be in Ahsoka Season 2? Oh, fuck that! They're gonna make her Force sensitive, aren't they? If I ever had a guilty pleasure movie, this was it. The acting in Attack of the Clones is...
I don't like sand.
mediocre! But this movie is outstanding when you overlook the acting that makes Mortal Kombat 2 looks like an Oscar winner.
Mother, you're alive. Too bad you will die.
I like this movie. Count Dooku, my favorite Sith Lord, because he's not evil per se, and don't get me wrong, I love my pure evil villains. Dooku displays elegance. He fights with grace. He talks with prestige, respect, and empathy. And we all know he displays a signature look of superiority. All in all, he's not inherently evil, but broken. Then again, he wanted the woman responsible for my first boner to kick the bucket, so yeah, he may be evil. I know this joke has been overdone like Order 66 flashback scenes, but I find it funny that Darth Sidious, the smartest and most feared man in the galaxy, wanted Padme dead. So what does he do? He sends a guy to send a guy to send a gal to send a bot to send some worms to kill her. Speaking of guy number 2, if it wasn't for Jango Fett, we not only would have gotten peak after peak after peak, but he's also responsible for expanding the dictionary with one word. Eargasm. Funny enough, while Palpatine schemed the Jedi and Anakin's downfall, it was the Tusken Raiders who started the shift in balance for murdering Shmi Skywalker. But yeah, unlike the previous film, I'm not bored to see Tatooine. And finally, the crux of the movie. Attack of the Clones has my favorite planetary battle, which is the Battle of Geonosis. How awesome was it when our trio was chained up in an arena?
What is that?
Is that sweat? That better not be sweat. No, Mom's gonna kill me. How awesome was it when Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme were chained up face to face with an Acklay, Nexu, and Reek, which I can only draw a parallel to Gladiator, or, you know, the regular Colosseum that exists in Rome with the Roman centurions. It's chaos. I would have died on the spot, but the Geonosians would have probably needed to change my pants after bringing me to the morgue. But when the Jedi show up to the rescue, and then the clones to the rescue, and then Yoda to the rescue, that is the definition of awesome. If I may, Yoda fights with the agility that would put Chun-Li to shame. Why the fuck do you need a cane? Obviously everyone who is a Star Wars fan grew up watching The Clone Wars, waiting for the next season to arrive next year, and those are your childhood memories. I was 5 years old when The Clone Wars released, and frankly the only channel I had growing up was PBS Kids. It was not until I was 13 where I was allowed access to on-demand television, but The Clone Wars had already ended. And I already had all the seasons on Blu-ray, so I never grew up with the episodic Star Wars hype. Except I did. Not with the Clone Wars. Yes, that's right. I was a Rebels boy. And I know what you're going to say. You're putting Rebels this high because it's nostalgia bait. It's a kids show, for fuck's sake! First of all, before the Disney merge, all of Star Wars was meant for kids. Second of all, I will grant you that the first and a half season of Clone Wars are meant for a younger audience.
This helmet! I can't see!
But when you give it a chance, in one word, this show is banger! Star Wars Rebels delivers some of the best Star Wars content I have ever seen. If the job of the Clone Wars was to make the prequels go from mid to great, Rebels, I kid you not, makes Rogue One and the originals go from great to awesome! Something else to note here. When I gave my mom the grand tour of Star Wars animated television, she liked both the Clone Wars and Rebels, but only cried watching Rebels, and she never cries. I think Rebels has some of the best main cast of characters in any Star Wars TV show. Jabba the Hutt, Mandalorian before it was cool, the rarest and hairless of Wookiees, inconsistent accent, reincarnated to a furry, and of course, war criminal. Jokes aside, as I mentioned in my Ahsoka review, I love the Ghost Crew so much. If Kanan Jarrus was an adult during the prime era of the Jedi Order, he and Qui-Gon Jinn would have been best mates, because both knew exactly what the Jedi Order should place in their top priority, the Force. His journey from not wanting an apprentice to wanting to go off to do his own thing while the rebellion fought for the bigger fights, to seeing what he could not, both figuratively and literally, is one of the best stories a Jedi could have. And you may call me crazy, but I don't care. Harrison Dula, one of the best Star Wars pilots, if not the best, period. What's not to love about the sexiest species in the galaxy leading the battle up in the skies in the coolest starship, all while knowing she is the only one who can control the biggest problem for both the rebellion and the Empire. Chopper.
He was actually a big help around here while you were off spying. I say we keep him.
This is Sparta!
Best Star Wars droid. Don't at me. Gareb Zeb Aurelius is my favorite member of the Ghost Crew because he is the one who learns the greatest lesson any sentient being can learn. Mercy. Mercy to the one who commanded the near extinction of his own kind. I do have this gripe with him though. You have an electro staff, weapons that are known to resist lightsaber blades. We saw him use it in season 1, but never again. Why the fuck would you not use it against the Inquisitors? Have a sword fight? Nah. Punch him to death. You're damn lucky the fifth brother honored your request, but you still got your purple ass handed to you. Like I mentioned before in Ahsoka, again, Sabine Wren was so badass in her own right. Mandalorian? Check. Creative artist? Check. Darksaber wielder? Check. Trumps Michael Bay's love for explosions? Check, check, check. Her story gets really dark because theoretically, imagine you were a Japanese student who gave the Americans the designs for a weapon that you created, and you labeled it the atomic bomb. And the next day, you see your weapon be used against your own people. That's Sabine's life in a nutshell. And finally, Ezra Bridger. We know him, we love him, classic hero's journey here. But what sets him apart from every Jedi or Star Wars protagonist is his affinity and love for animals. From getting brigaded and peeved at loath cats to commanding an army of loath wolves. That is just a glimpse at the growth that Ezra went through. The antagonists of this show are all stellar by either going through development or being ruthless. You got new faces like Agent Callus, the Inquisitors, Helicopter! Governor Price, Grand Admiral Thrawn makes his debut here, Darth Vader, because why would he not be here? It's a shared galaxy. Speaking of shared, most of the supporting cast, not cameos, supporting cast members are familiar faces Old Man Captain Rex, Hondo Onaka, Mon Mothma, Wedge Antilles, R2C3PO, Ahsoka Tano at her prime. And of course, the MVP. Maul! Guess who's back? Back and rad. Maul is back. Don't tell your dad. Rebels is an all-around amazing show. Has great episodes, great themes and emotions, surprisingly great lightsaber fights as well. Just to name a few of my favorites. Kanan and Ezra versus the Grand Inquisitor. When Kanan went feral after the Grand Inquisitor sent Ezra to the Shadow Realm, you know the fight was over. Ahsoka versus the 7th and 5th brother. Well, actually, this ain't even a battle. Ahsoka's just mopping the floor with these posers. Sabine versus Gar Saxon goes to show that you don't need a Jedi to give you a good lightsaber fight. Ben Kenobi versus Maul, the rematch of the century. And let's not forget the most emotional duel since the Battle of the Heroes. Ahsoka Tano versus Darth Vader. What a fight. If you have not seen the show or refuse to see this show because it's a kid's show, you are doing a disservice to yourself and you are missing out. Just get through the rocky stuff to unearth the peak. Where it all started, a new hope. I was introduced to Star Wars from the Lego Club magazine. Seeing guys with laser swords was already a turn on for me. And believe it or not, this was the first live action film I saw as a kid from beginning to end because it was just that good. And if you want to know how long ago that was, we rented the original trilogy from a Blockbuster. A Blockbuster! I'm jumping a bit ahead now, but I remember I was never shocked at the I am your father scene because 1, I saw the joke first in Toy Story 2.
No me rendiré. Tú mataste a mi padre.
No, Maul. Yo soy tu padre.
And 2, when Vader showed up in Tantive 4, I remember thinking to myself, oh, that's Anakin Skywalker. How did I know? Because of this fucking Lego commercial for Palpatine's shuttle.
Now you can help the Emperor transform Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader.
Okay, so that aside, where do I even begin? It's the movie of all movies, George Lucas's masterpiece, possibly the only movie made during 1970 where the effects hold up and the story is perfect. Yes, I know that Lucasfilm updated the graphics as the years went by, and I am probably one of the few guys who think the special editions of these 3 movies are way better than their original counterparts. But they take away what makes it Other than that, the film is awesome. Luke Skywalker is awesome, Han Solo is awesome, Leia Organa is awesome, Chewbacca is awesome, Obi-Wan Kenobi is awesome, Darth Vader is awesome, C-3PO's a bitch, and R2-D2 is awesome. All the music, set pieces, practical effects, action scenes, especially the Battle of Yavin, are breathtaking. You cannot tell me that after seeing that final battle, you did not want to fly an X-Wing. I wanted to fly a Y-Wing. Why? Preference? But that's a shit preference because not only are the X-Wings red, but the Y-Wings do nothing in the film at all. Goes to show what I know. Hey, I don't know shit. I'm reviewing movies, and I've already made some hot takes, but this is coming from the guy who likes the live-action Five Nights at Freddy's movies. All in all, words cannot describe this movie. If you have not seen it, why are you watching a video ranking Star Wars movie when you have not seen the first one? Although, if you do want my preference on which special edition you should watch anyone that has the SC-38 reimagined by Fix It in Post. I mean, would you rather watch a fight that goes like this? Or this? To mostly everyone, Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars project ever made, and for good reason. Projects has always had like the slogan at the end, and they lived happily ever after. Not here! The ending to Empire is miserable. Not in the sense that it is bad, because it takes the main theme of Star Wars, which is hope, and completely shatters it. The last time we saw our heroes, they thought they were the shit because they destroyed the Death Star thinking there'd be no consequences. No one, and I mean no one, is safe from the grip of the Empire. The Battle of Hoth, the chase through the asteroids, Cloud City escape, lost Han Solo to Carbonite, and severely wounded their ace physically and mentally. Whatever you think is going to happen when you first watch this film, the opposite occurs. And this is the film to introduce 4 legendary characters to the Star Wars universe, including the best character of them all, which I already mentioned previously, Lando Calrissian. Now you may be wondering, why is he my favorite? He's just got that charisma and swag that makes him cool on all levels. Although, did anybody else find it weird that after everything he did to Han, he suddenly has the honor to wear his clothes?
Don't worry, Luke. We'll find Han. I promise.
I'll be waiting for your signal. Take care, you two. May the Force be with you.
Oh, that's a nice ammo belt you got there, Chewbacca.
And speaking of Solo, I find it nice that throwaway line that 3PO says that the Millennium Falcon has a very strong language or something of the sort. I like that the canon reason now is that it's because L3 is plugged into the main computer, which just shows that just because there was a throwaway line in the originals, you can make that mean more down in the future, like Luke mentioning the Clone Wars back in A New Hope. It was no surprise when the green midget alien on Dagobah was Yoda. I already knew he was Yoda. It did surprise me a bit when Yoda sounded like he was on ketamine the entire time. And Boba Fett, I mean, he's Boba Fett. In this movie, he's like the guy in the friend group who is always standing in the corner wearing a black hood and does not speak. He just farms aura. Unlike the last film, where it's the classic, not classic at the time, plotting of saving the damsel in distress, this story is a training arc for Luke. But the surprises never cease. Luke, instead of climbing the mountain, he seems to dig his own grave. Bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And like Avengers Infinity Wars is Thanos' movie, Empire Strikes Back is Darth Vader's movie. He is on a mission to hunt down everyone. Every single one of them. And he is ahead of the curve all the time, breaking friendships, trust boundaries, and bombshells while you're at it, which is exactly what leads the Empire to getting the upper hand this time around. So what's the lesson? What is the takeaway? You piss off a government with an evil wizard at the helm, expect to get backhanded. And then some. And now we have arrived at the winners. Top 5 best Star Wars project. For this category, all of them are perfect. I just prefer one over the other. Before I jump into the last 5, it would be fitting if I gave some honorable mentions. Star Wars projects that are amazing, but didn't make the cut because of reasons. That will be explained when you see this list. So without further ado, Jedi Fallen Order follows the story of Cal Kestis, a Padawan who survived Order 66. How original. He needs to learn how to rekindle with the Force after his master was murdered, traveling the galaxy with a merry band of friends to stop the Inquisitors from getting the same holocron from the Clone Wars that contained the list of Force-sensitive kids. What I love about this game is the freedom it gives you. Any planet, anytime, customizable lightsabers, optional story progression. I don't want to dive too deep, but if you don't play games, watch the cutscenes. It's a really entertaining story. But I do love it when games give you free reign. Except that stupid double jump on Dathomir. Just get a rope and stop shit! I mentioned before, there was an alternate version of what happens post Return of the Jedi. It's called the Thrawn Trilogy. It's a series of novels that tells the story of Grandmaster Luke, General Han, and lead councilwoman Leia 5 years after Return of the Jedi. 5 years after the fall of the Empire to stop Grand Admiral Thrawn to revive Darth Sidious. This is all well and good. Why is it up here? YouTuber Star Wars Chronicles is currently recreating the novel into a movie using Blender 3D, Photoshop, AI, and DaVinci Resolve. And the final product of what he has so far is amazing. It blends the current canon with the Legends canon perfectly with the first chapter, Heir to the Empire. And I can't wait to see where this goes. Guys, if you all wanted an alternate sequel trilogy, this is it. I'm gonna be honest. I never played any of the Old Republic games, but if it has cutscenes like this, then it must be good. We all saw what happens when Anakin Skywalker had a Padawan. But what if Darth Vader had an apprentice? Meet Galen Merrick, a youngling Darth Vader found in Kashyyyk, and the sole reason why Lucasfilm decanonized the Legends continuity. You seem confused. In a world where the Rebel Alliance is struggling in the Galactic Civil War, you had this guy running amok. Yup, this guy's the most powerful Star Wars character, period. I say is and not was, because in Andor, you can see his armor in Luthen's shop. I don't make the rules. He's out there somewhere. But this game gives you the option of freedom again. You can either form the rebellion, which is the canon option, or you can kill Vader to become Sidious's new apprentice and really fuck shit up for the rebellion. Obi-Wan, dead on Tatooine. Luke turns to the dark side on Han. Han and Chewie, dead on Endor. Leia, the last Jedi, also dead. The Clone Wars. No, not that one. That one. This is my favorite Star Wars, period. I mentioned A New Hope was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw, but this was the first Star Wars media I ever saw. This series of shorts is phenomenal. There is no room for error. After episode 2 was released in theaters, these shorts were the gap between 2 and 3. They were made between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith to show viewers what the Clone Wars like in preparation to the Battle of Coruscant, which it shows as its final scene, which is amazing. So if you wanted to know why General Grievous has asthma, you'll find it here. You wanted to know how Anakin Skywalker got knighted, you'll find it here. You wanted to know Asajj Ventress's origin story, you'll find it here. This series bridges the gaps between many stuff from live action to animated. It's just incredible. Speaking of General Grievous, he was a beast! Killing 5 Jedi in under 5 minutes. He even killed Shaggy at full strength. Who does that? And Captain Fordo.
Sector 4 needs reinforcements. We are being overrun. Repeat, we are...
Best clone ever. He does not speak. He just does. But you know what makes this series absolutely peak? What makes this series the best of the best? The undisputed heavyweight champion?
You look different, 3PO.
Oh, it must be this disguise.
No, 3PO. It's your new gold plating.
Gold plating?
Oh, yes. In the service of a senator, one must be presentable.
Well, let's see it.
Here, now, in this neighborhood. Very well, if you wish.
And now we have arrived. The top 5 best Star Wars projects to ever exist. Yeah, these are good ones. I had to put on the more formal attire to celebrate such momentous film and TV shows. This video is already long enough as is, so without further ado... Back then, I did say out of all the characters from Rogue One, Cassian Andor was the most still likable, just not as much as the others. And yet, one speck of dust in a white shoe a film does not make. Rogue One is phenomenal! Because while most of the Star Wars spin-offs revolve around stories that usually don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, this movie has possibly the most important plotline for any Star Wars lore. The inciting incident, what kicks off A New Hope. Written in the title crawl, Rebel spaceships, striking from a hidden base, have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, Rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star. And this is the movie that answers how. Not only how did they manage to steal the Death Star plans, but what was that legendary battle which was their first victory? I'll get into all that later, but back in my Andrew review, I already did give you all a rundown of the main characters. And dare I say, what a cast! This standalone film made us care about these characters, which we are never going to see again, more so than the characters of the entire sequel trilogy. Even the side characters were very interesting and complex. We were given very little to know about these guys, and yet we know everything we have to. Orson Krennic remains one of, if not my favorite Star Wars antagonist. Why? He's angry, furious at Tarkin for stealing his project.
Stand here amidst my achievement, not yours!
Angry at Galen for betraying him. But instead of being angry and standing around like Dr. Hemlock, he's angry and says, fine, I'll do it myself. And it's all for naught because of the delicious irony, being murdered by your own creation. You dedicated this film to try to get your name stapled onto. And Jyn Erso is up there as one of my favorite Star Wars protagonists, despite not being a Jedi. Because she's not whiny, she's not emotionless, she's not one-sided, she's not complaining about the patriarchy every 2 seconds, and she's not useless. You want me to find my father by finding Saw Gerrera, who's going to die. Then you're going to kill my dad behind my back. Then expect me to not go behind your backs to Scarif and eventually die along with all my new friends. I'd say less. If Mon Mothma was the soul for the rebellion, Jyn is the heart and gives leeway to what Star Wars should be all about. Hope. Because rebellions are built on hope. As we all know, Cassian starts off as someone who just believes in the now rather than the whole, killing the guy on Kakrini, not caring for what happens to Saw, and almost killing Galen Erso, if it were not for the fact that this is where his character arc grows and where he learns to what he failed to do in his own show. Compassion and mercy. And the way they spent their final moments, knowing that while both of their lives were probably wasted, the way they ended, it was emotional but satisfying. They contributed to doing what was right. Jyn was no longer the scrounger Saw taught her to be, and Cassian was no longer the heartless Luthen taught him to be. They wrote their destinies not defined by their mentors, but what they believe in the end. And K2SO, he's everything C-3PO wishes he was. He's a boss, funny, sarcastic, and gives the viewers the knowledge that droids are people too.
I'm here to shit ass.
If you did not shed a tear when K2 sacrificed himself, you're a monster. Now onto the side characters. Is Chirrut a Jedi? We may never know. Also delivered the funniest joke in all of Star Wars, by the way.
Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
And Baze.
I am heavy weapons guy. You are dead! Not a big surprise!
Bodhi was cool. He was just a pilot trying to deliver the message. Ended up playing the most pivotal role in Scarif, transmitting the plans to Admiral Raddus. Speaking of Scarif, the most beautiful planet I have ever seen. And speaking of Scarif again, Rogue One has the best space battle in all of Star Wars. The visuals, sounds, stakes, you name it. It has everything. Either way, I don't think there is anything else I can say about this film that I have not said already. Oh yeah, Darth Vader. Did you know that Darth Vader was a last-minute inclusion to the film? Don't get me wrong, I do love the more underground elements of Star Wars, but let us not forget what this universe makes it special apart from all the other ones. the Force. The aspects of Jedi and Sith should be a staple in any Star Wars project, in my opinion. And seeing Vader give Krennic the intimidation tactic, Bane style, and then showing up at the end to slaughter the rebels in a way we have never seen before, that looks like it was ripped from a horror movie, that his son copied the same move 10 years later, that moment made the film go from a 10 to a 12. Like Qui-Gon said, there's always a bigger fish. Rated R Vader/movie series when? Imagine what Sam Witwer could craft if he was in charge of a Star Wars show. So, by the time I'm writing this, Maul Shadow Lord has not released. But from what I've seen from the trailers and from what Sam Witwer has said in interviews, I've gathered that this show has the same style as Andor, has the same dialogue as Andor, has the same direction as Andor, has the same stakes as Andor, except it's animated in new painting style-esque, and the Jedi and Sith are pivotal to the story with amazing lightsaber duels. That already makes it 10 times better! That is what I thought until now. Yes, this is many weeks later. Maul Shadow Lord has been released. Notice the mistake with my clothing previously. Yes, Empire was originally number 5, hence why I was wearing classy attire and all that, but I'm a mess right now because I needed to record this right now because I have seen Maul Shadow Lord now, and now I can confidently say this has the potential to be the best Star Wars yet. I say potential, hear me out. Just stop right there. Do not go into the comments and start typing. Just stop. Just listen. Just listen for a second. I am holding my breath because we all thought the same about The Mandalorian, and look how well that turned out. Is Maul Shadow Lord all the way up here because of recency bias? Maybe. Could my opinion change in the coming times? Perhaps. Do I care? Absolutely not. The fact of the matter is that this show is so fucking awesome! If Andor was Star Wars for adults, Maul Shadow Lord is the Clone Wars for adults. This is the type of show that I have been waiting for. A no-filter Star Wars show starring a bad guy. Starring the bad guy! I was right on my prediction. This show has everything that made Andor great, but just make it about the Jedi and the Sith rather than... Onto the show, and this is going to be your spoiler warning right here. I am not going to give out any spoilers up until 5 seconds. So you have 5 seconds to close out the video. Okay, now that you're closed, we're talking spoilers here, because how could I not talk spoilers? The main theme of this show, temptation. This show is the perfect example of what happens when you listen to the little devil on your shoulder. For Devon, she let Maul tempt her during these tyrannical times when she was already crossing the bridge just to survive, which in turn leads to her becoming Darth Talon. Hopefully. For Commander Lawson, his temptation was his workaholic obsession, which severed the bonds he had with his son Riley and his wife, which probably made her defect to the Empire, and it probably will lead him to have a calf addiction. And all these things in turn make him a terrible father and a terrible husband. The best thing that us parents can do for our children is to just be there for them, and Lawson failed. And now Riley is going to have to live with that. Assuming he's dead. But he's not. And I don't mean it metaphorically, or radically, or poetically, or theoretically, or any fancy way. Lawson is alive. Straight up. They left that ambiguous because he's the only one who saw Maul's betrayal. And I feel like that is going to come into play down the line. When? I don't know. Yeah, us parents, like I have any children and I have any say in this. Until then, Two Boots is going to have to do his best to become the next Star Wars dad. And to think that everything that happened here is because of him. Ooh, the Empire's gonna fix everything. We must follow protocol. Look what you did! I did enjoy every time he was on screen. We needed some lighthearted comedic relief in this dark show.
It's toxic waste from the city.
Illegally disposed of. I will report this immediately.
Bombastic side-eye.
Never mind.
Even Maul had temptation of his own. His obsession with Sidious, Devin, power are what lead him to make reckless decisions. Rook Cass, despite being truly loyal, is his voice of reason, and in return, his crew pays the ultimate price when they didn't have to. Speaking of his crew, for the first time in a long time, I loved all the characters in a show. There was no one that I audibly groaned whenever they were on screen. Icarus and Scorn, absolute G's. Never have I seen more loyal soldiers anywhere that went out like absolute champions. This show didn't have any filler episodes, but if you need an episode to burn next season, do a repairing Spybot, please.
Bullshit.
Master Iko Diodaki, already one of my favorite Jedi. Where were you during the Clone Wars? The Jedi Council could have used your wisdom and expertise. He and Rook were both the smartest character in this show, making the wise decisions and thinking in the long run. But now, you're shish kebab, and I guess you could show up in flashbacks, but shame. You were a very good character. Now, let's talk about the antagonists. Didn't care about Vario. Blake looks like he masturbates to his own reflection. Rena was there. But the Inquisitors? Ah! If you were to tell me that Marc from Ahsoka and the Crow from Tales of the Jedi were the best characters in the show, I would have just looked at you like you grew two heads. But holy shit, these two horrified! The entire time they were on screen, they showed no mercy when it came to fighting. Anytime Maul ignited his blade, it was pure perfection and it was beautiful. Not to mention I was skeptical about the semi-new painting art style, but after a while, I loved it. And of course, the MVP! It's not Maul this time. Darth freaking Vader! When I saw the leaked character posters, I thought that he was going to appear as a cameo, as a hologram, and they were going to hype up the second season around Maul and Vader having a showdown. But no! As soon as you hear the iconic breathing, it was so over for everyone, especially Maul's legs. F in the chat. 4 times his, was it his right one or his left one? Whichever one, whatever this one is, it was his right leg was the real victim of this show.
It's a hard knock life for Maul. It's a hard knock life for Maul. Like it's always over eyes. And now we're very agonized.
But back to Vader, he was not even trying. And you could tell.
Adding to the fact that he was just silent the entire time, mirroring the Phantom Menace, where Maul didn't speak a word. That just made him 1,000 times more terrifying.
And the music! Thank you, Kiners! Hearing a demonic version of the Imperial March when Vader went on this massacre. I kid you not, I was gonna bust! This is why, when themes are iconic, you keep them! Maul almost ran Anakin Skywalker back then, all the way back in the Phantom Menace, and now he was struggling to survive against this monster. Kanan and Ezra had it so fucking easy. I am cautiously optimistic, but hopeful for season 2. I would love for Maul and Vader to have a rematch, or Maul and the Emperor to have a rematch, but that is very unlikely gonna happen because we already saw that happen in this season. But let's just hope this second season, like, ups the ante. This is already the best first season out of any Star Wars show, and hopefully it doesn't end in season 2. I want, like, 10,000. I actually would like probably 7 seasons of this show. Realistically, we're probably only to get 4. But hopefully, this is one step closer to an actual Star Wars horror series. This movie may be memed upon to death, but for good reason. Revenge of the Sith is the best movie to come out of the prequel era of Star Wars. While episodes 1 and 2 were a mixed bag, and some people claim they did not feel the Star Wars magic within them, this movie brings it all the way back. Like episode 5, where we have no clue where things were going to turn for the worse, we know exactly that this movie is not going to have a happy ending. All the setup with the Republic on the brink of winning a 3-year-long war, Padme and Anakin only days away from having their twins, all ruined by this decrepit, chicken fried face looking motherfucker. Revenge of the Sith is what feels like the culminations of all the previous 5 movies and ties them up all together in a bow. Because it all ties back to what Obi-Wan said about the Jedi being the guardians of peace and justice for 40,000 years during the time of the Republic, before the Empire toppled it all down in one day. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it came down in one. What separates Revenge of the Sith from most Star Wars films is the fact that all the action is exceptionally directed. 1-on-1? Nah. 2-on-1? 4-on-1? Hell yeah! And not only are the fights well done, made by someone who cares, but the last fight, the Battle of the Heroes, carrying the emotional weight of all the previous dominoes that I have talked about previously, and then some. In this film, Anakin murdering Anakin murdering Dooku in cold blood, that's domino number 1. Domino number 2, Anakin having nightmares about losing Padme during childbirth. Domino number 3, Palpatine says the Sith know a technique about immortality. Domino number 4, the Jedi treat Anakin like a child and refuse to grant him the rank of Master after everything he has done for them. Domino number 5, Palpatine revealing himself as the Sith Lord and saying he can save Padme. Domino number 6, Mace Windu not trusting Anakin to come with the others and proceeds to almost kill an unarmed man even though he might deserve it. That's against the Jedi Code, which in turn makes Anakin and Sidious go for the team kill. But I digress that he is dead. Samuel L. Jackson is way too cool to die like that. I believe that he's alive somewhere.
What have I done? I'm still alive, motherfucker!
And the last domino to fall is Vader and the 501st marching to the Jedi Temple to kill all the Jedi and then the clones all across the galaxy, executing Order 66 to kill 99.9% of 10,000 Jedi. And lastly, Vader and Obi-Wan fighting to the death in the Star Wars equivalent of hell. Master and Padawan, brother and brother. The final battle in the most hype and emotional duel, resulting in the death of Anakin, Padme, the Jedi Order, the Republic, and Hope. And bringing in the birth of Darth Vader, the Empire, and a new hope. That was the final domino to fall. This is the perfect conclusion for the Star Wars saga, because in the end, the story of the original trilogy was never about Luke. It was about Anakin, his father. We saw his redemption. Now we see his fall. And the why. Why he became the most feared and powerful man in the galaxy. Simping. What I love about Star Wars is that it gives many past projects expansion. You didn't fully understand A? That's okay. We have B to make it make sense and then some. When you combine the Darth Plagueis novel and the Phantom Menace, you get the fleshed out version of how the Sith rose to power and Palpatine's backstory with his master and why he was able to manipulate the Galactic Senate. When you combine the Bounty Hunter game with Attack of the Clones, you learn how the clone army was created and why Jango Fett was chosen to be the candidate for the Kaminoans. When you combine the Clone Wars with Revenge of the Sith, you get the backstory of why Order 66 was a success and some of if not the best Star Wars story we have. I know everyone has their opinions of what goes where in Star Wars rankings, but everyone universally agrees that the Clone Wars is the best Star Wars TV show ever. Where do I even begin? The different episodic arcs rival those of most Star Wars projects because they teach valuable lessons. The Ryloth arc, true liberation, requires not only defeating the enemy, but also earning the trust and cooperation of the people you are attempting to save. The Umbara arc, blind loyalty to others can lead to catastrophic consequences, highlighting the necessity of questioning the authority when it compromises one's moral integrity. The Mortis arc, understanding the balance between light and dark is essential to controlling one's own destiny and preventing the corruption of the Force. The Domino Squad arc, individual potential is limited until one embraces the strength of teamwork and the responsibility of looking out for one's brothers in arms. The Citadel arc, successfully completing a high-stakes mission demands a willingness to accept personal sacrifice for the greater good of the mission and one's team. The Zygeria arc, fighting against systemic injustice requires an unwavering commitment to morality, even when faced with the most brutal displays of oppression. The Mandalore arc, political power is often a mirage, as true change is frequently subverted by unseen puppet masters who thrive on chaos and division. The Boba arc, the cycle of vengeance only breeds more violence and loss, ultimately consuming those who refuse to let go of their hatred. The political arc, governance is a dangerous game where idealistic intentions are frequently dismantled by the cold, calculated influence of corruption and greed. The Ahsoka on the Run arc, even those within the most righteous institutions must be prepared to stand alone when the systems they serve have lost their way. And those are just to name a few. Very powerful storytelling from George Lucas and Dave Filoni, and all the others who worked on the show. And this is the show that introduced many beloved characters. You have Ahsoka Tano, who started off as annoying, ended up as one of the most loved and grown characters in the franchise. Before, Clone was just a Cody. What the fuck? Again, been recording this for way too long. Before, Cody was just a clone that was following orders, but he and so many others became their own human beings, including but not limited to Captain Rex, who began to doubt if being bred for war was worth it in the end. Domino Squad, Fives, Echo, Heavy, brothers who stood by each other's side until the end. Asajj Ventress, who went from your average, sexy Saturday morning cartoon villain to a woman who wants to belong and find peace on her own. Cad Bane, who is just the coolest motherfucker ever. Hondo Ohnaka, Galaxy's most lovable pirate.
I'm flying!
And of course, the MVP. Come on. One last time, everyone. Back from the dead, back with a vengeance. Maul went from being another Boba Fett, says nothing, looks cool, dies instantly, to turning into the most fleshed out character in Star Wars. Starts off as a rage spider to hunt down Obi-Wan Kenobi, then realizes that the Force is about to grow out of balance. To survive, he needs to build his criminal empire from the ground up with deception, fear, and cunning words. And all to do this to thwart Sidious from his throne and to get revenge on the man who took everything away from him by killing Satine Kryze, the love of Obi-Wan Kenobi's life. And he did it in front of him, like, damn! Yeah. Although, side note, Corky, Satine's nephew, we all know that claim is bullshit, right? And to top it all off, Clone Wars has the honor to have the best finale out of every TV show ever. The Siege of Mandalore. This long-awaited arc that was done extremely well because it takes place during Revenge of the Sith. Now, we know watching this arc is a ticking time bomb before Order 66 occurs, and when it does, it's depressing. And the aftermath of everything, it's even more depressing when you realize it's over. The war that went on for 7 seasons, losing many beloved characters, thinking they were fighting to further end conflict. It was all for nothing because in the end there was only one winner, the Empire. The Republic didn't win. The Separatists did not win. Obi-Wan, Maul, Ahsoka, they did not win. It was inevitable for everyone to lose after already losing again and again. This is why Star Wars The Clone Wars remains the best Star Wars we were given. Well, second best. There is still one more. One film to rule them all! The End of the Republic takes number 2. It is only fitting that what it metamorphosized into, The End of the Empire, takes the number 1 spot. In my opinion, the best Star Wars is... I assume the next question is why. Return of the Jedi remains my favorite because of a mistake. When my dad rented the original trilogy off of Blockbuster, we were meant to see them all in one weekend. We saw 4 on Saturday, we saw 5 on Sunday, and then Monday came, and we had to return the movies. Sometime later, instead of renting just 6, we rented the prequels next, and somehow got through them all, but not the originals, in one weekend. I do not know how. Then Christmas came that year, and we got all 6 movies in the Blu-ray collection. I still have it downstairs somewhere. But then New Year's Day came, and we binged 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. The one movie we had not seen. And let me tell you, it was beautiful. The last chapter of the Star Wars saga chronologically. And it was perfect. I was used to seeing Luke be whiny and a bit of a loser. But seeing him in the sail barge finally kicking serious ass was an amazing moment I will never forget. God is the one who was always begging for Ben's help. Now Luke has reached his full potential to take down the Empire once and for all. And speaking of the Empire, seeing Palpatine again still ruling the galaxy with an iron grip shows why even Vader fears him. Because even Vader, there was a throwaway line that he says, "The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am." So like, what the fuck does that mean? Does that mean, yeah, if you fail, I kill you. Force choke. If you fail, if the Emperor sees you fail, what? Is he gonna skin your entire family? I don't know. That just, there's layers to that. I'm jumping ahead, but a part of me was hoping that after Luke went feral, hammering down on his father after he threatened to make Leia his new apprentice, I was kind of hoping Palpatine would jump in, whipping out his lightsaber, and the two would go at it. The teaser on the Blu-ray menu teased me, and I was a wee bit disappointed, but whatever. Look at Leia being sisters as well. I knew Vader was Luke's father. I had no idea they were siblings. When I saw Revenge of the Sith, that actually took me by surprise. Oh no! Moving back to Return of the Jedi. Endor. I love the Ewoks. Okay, I know, okay, hear me out, okay, shut up, just hear me out! If the Empire is an analogy for death and technology, what will always win against this battle? Life and nature. What we as humans create can never rival what God creates. Does God even exist in Star Wars? What would the equivalent be? The Father? Abeloth? So what if trained soldiers got beaten by a bunch of teddy-bears? They're cute. That gives them a pass. And the space battle was amazing. Rogue One's is still a bit better, but this is second place. Or third, Revenge of the Sith. I don't know, they're both in between. Fighting a second Death Star was always fascinating. Imagine you spend years getting rid of your enemy's greatest weapon, only for them to tell you in many different ways, fuck you, and for a second one shows up out of nowhere.
Oh my god! Oh jeez, oh my god!
Seeing Lando finally pilot the Millennium Falcon as the General of the Rebellion shows that he has gone a long way. And everyone else played a significant role in the battle as well. Wedge is the only character who assisted in not 1 but 2 Death Star destructions. Nine Numb is there, or whatever he says. And Admiral Akbar, legend.
It's a trap!
Well, no fucking shit!
After the final battle, when Anakin Skywalker redeemed himself, it was gutting seeing him in such a vulnerable state when a melancholic version of the Imperial March played. I kid you not, I am so happy I watched Star Wars in the order that I did, because seeing Hayden Christensen alongside Yoda and Sir Alec Guinness was the best way you could connect all 6 movies together in this awesome finale. And seeing all the other planets from the other movies was a nice touch as well. The war ended. The Emperor died. This was the sunrise Luthen never got to see. everyone on the moon of Endor was jamming out to the best track of the saga. The galaxy was free, and balance was restored. And Leia. Good choice, George. And that's it! That's my humble and correct opinion of the Star Wars saga. For real though, this ranking is just a piss take. I'm just a guy who loves Star Wars, and I wanted to show my appreciation. But if you want me to go into more detail about the ones that I love, the ones I did not love, the ones that I have a very controversial placing, let me know. Or do you want to see me rank more franchises? I'd be happy to. I'll probably cover Mandalorian and Grogu when they fully release, but until then, thank you all so much for watching this sorry excuse of a ranking. I hope you all have a wonderful day. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This is a new thing I'm trying. I want to thank you all very, very much from the bottom of my heart. Because this video took a long time to make. I think I might stick to this format from now on, because I do love shouting and ripping my vocal cords out. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to drink a lot of water because I'm about to dehydrate.